Hello, everyone. This is Michelle from Page of Wands Tarot coming at you. This is a general video for the collective, and I just have a few things that I've been wanting to address for the past week or so since I've been doing these videos and sort of trying to find my bearings. A big thank you to everyone that's been really accepting of me so far in the YouTube community. I am just starting out here, so please give my videos a chance, even though I know they don't all have a lot of views yet. But I do thank you sincerely to everybody that has commented and has taken the time to stop by and just watch and see what I'm all about. Obviously, I'm not going to be for everybody. I'm sure my style of reading is a little bit different, but that's okay, because variety is the spice of life, right? So mainly what I want to talk about in this video has to do with what is known in the twin flame community and in the twin flame journey as being something around stage 7, right? There's all these stages and all these people assign different happenings and different phases to the twin flame journey, and collectively, we're all supposed to experience these at one point or another, I guess, along our journey, right? So phase 7, or what I've seen as phase 7, is otherwise known as the surrendering phase. And this is supposed to be one of the last phases. I don't really know if I'm in it or not, but I am trying to be. So I'm making a conscious effort to actually be in a stage of surrendering. I've gotten this message a lot in my personal readings over the last few months. And I think that it's a really important message. And when I think back to where I was, even back in January and February of this year, I was a really hot mess. And granted, I have a lot going on in my personal life. If you watched any of my other videos, you know my 5-year-old son Orion has cancer, and I decided to separate from my husband because of my twin flame. And just because of a lot that had been going on in my heart for many years. And I love my husband. He's an amazing man. I just want to say that. He's absolutely amazing, and he's an amazing father. So just because I feel a breakdown in our relationship doesn't mean that it has anything to do with him. On the contrary, it has everything to do with me. I just want to put that out there. So anyway, the surrendering stage, I feel like there is a need to differentiate it from a sort of letting go in a negative sense, because I think that this can create quite a conundrum, and it can make some of us that want to be really dedicated to this journey feel like we're giving up. And it can feel like a complete paradox, because I feel that there is a difference between surrendering and releasing and going with the flow and letting go and giving up. All right, so I kind of want to draw the line in the sand between the releasing and giving up, right? And just the fundamental semantics of these two, that word and phrase, releasing and letting and giving up. Okay, so a release and a surrender is not giving up. This has been, other than the grief and the sadness and the sorrow and the horrible despair that we feel when we're first going through separation, which is torturous, as we all know, this has been the most difficult part of the whole process, because it's so hard to wrap your head around. And so I'm hoping maybe I can shed a little bit of light on it to some other people. A really dear friend of mine said to me one time when I was struggling with this idea, and this was around December, and I said, I just cannot let him go. I can't let my love for him go, if that makes sense. I knew it was important to keep moving along and just do what I need to do every day to get by, but something felt so wrong and horribly, deeply sad about saying, you know what, I'm just going to give up on this love. And she said, you don't have to give up on it. Maybe you just need to put it in a box and put it up on a shelf for a little while. So you're not throwing it away. You're just putting it aside until you've had time to deal with the other things in your life that you need to deal with. And I thought that was so beautiful and so uplifting and so comforting and so hopeful. So, I mean, I literally put a few things that I felt were representative of that love in a box, and I put it on my shelf. And it remains there to this day. I've tried to reopen it a few times and I can't get the box open, but that has more to do with my lack of having two arms than anything else. But it is stuck together pretty tight, and I've kind of taken that as a sign of just let it be, you know? So how I've tried to explain this process is that by surrendering, you are kind of giving it up to a higher power, right? And this has been really hard for me because I have struggled with any kind of spirituality for a very long time, and I've struggled with recognizing any type of God for a really long time. And so giving it up to God, giving it up to the universe is not something I'm comfortable with. I'm not comfortable with that notion. My prior inclination was always to control. Everything is within my control, right? And I have since discovered that that is not necessarily true, obviously, and that there is some merit to having faith and trust in the universe that you will be taken care of and you will be protected, and whatever is right for you is what will happen. And whether this involves our twin flame or not remains to be seen. And we still need to move forward in the best way possible, working on ourselves all the while, trying to harness that temperance that I feel is so integral to this journey. Right? That soul enlightenment, that soul conditioning, the going deeper, going in with the hermit, trusting our instincts with the high priestess, tempering ourselves and our emotions, finding our balance, trusting in our guides and our ancestors, harnessing our patience, all the stuff that goes along with temperance. So then we can, and then an understanding that we can be the magicians and the co-creators in our own lives with that magician card, right? I've found that these are all really, really poignant cards when it comes to this journey in the major arcana. And I think that what is so hard about tempering our souls is this trust and this faith in the universe and allowing things to happen in the right way and in the right timing, in accordance with divine timing in the way it's supposed to be. That's the hardest part. It has been for me because I'm stubborn as shit and I'm really a control freak. You know, I have found throughout the years, I've kind of discovered, and people like us have a really hard time giving anything up to anybody, right? I've always been like, no, I'll do it myself. No, I'll do it myself. That's not always a good way to be because lacking trust in other people isn't going to bode very well for our human relationships, right? And the same thing goes with our relationship to whatever we consider this unifying energy, collective energy, divine universe, divine spark, God, whoever you want to call it, right? So, or call it, however you feel connected to whatever divinity lies within you and within your soul. That's what we're talking about here. So the paradox is in the releasing and the surrendering to the flow and to the letting it go, knowing you are not in control of this situation without necessarily giving up on the notion that this beautiful love can exist and the notion that somebody out there, you know, we had this real experience, this tangible experience in our lives where somebody was able to wake us up and shake us awake. And probably we have a really deep soul connection with that person and we have past life karma. And probably that's why it's so hard to let go of them, right? But all we're doing by squeezing them so tight because we're afraid to let go is smothering them and smothering the potential for this process to play out in the best way possible for both parties. So my suggestion is to get the fuck out of the way, right? That's what the surrendering is. That's what the releasing is. It's moving yourself out of the way, stepping aside and saying, you know what? I am not in control of this situation. This involves people other than me. namely your twin who has to figure their stuff out too and go through their own processes and go through their own soul tempering, okay? You cannot help with that. Divine feminines, oh, this is so what you want to do, isn't it? This is so what you feel all about. Your very soul mission might feel like it's to heal your twin, and I will tell you, it is not, okay? They have to do it themselves. You have to do it yourself. So the focus really needs to be on your own soul tempering and on your own journey. And that is where the release and the surrendering will come from. But there are other things we can do as well. And a big message that I keep trying to hammer home has to do with how we reevaluate our relationship to wealth. I've brought this up in several readings. I've talked about self-worth. I've talked about wealth in general. And I have talked about obviously temperance, which I was just talking about a moment ago. But the self-worth and the worth and wealth go hand in hand, right? And I really feel like this is such a big part of it. I keep saying, how do you define wealth? What is your relationship to wealth? How is your self-worth? How do you feel about yourself? How's your relationship with you? How's that going? Because I think we need to focus on that first and foremost before we worry about what anybody else is doing. Because it's not until we get ourselves to a place where we know we are completely whole and unified and feeling at one and feeling at peace in our bodies, in our lives, in the universe, and within this situation and this journey, only then can we really understand where our boundaries lie, what our foundations are, what we need, foundationally speaking, out of our relationships. This has been the biggest struggle for me. And so coming from somebody like myself that's had a real problem with commitment in my relationships, real problem. This has been the number one thing this has been all about. Figuring out what it is that makes it so difficult for me to stay fully committed in a relationship. And when I feel that relationship is no longer allowing myself and my partner to grow, how do I respectfully end it? And that has been the problem, right? Sometimes the relationships just don't work out, guys. This isn't about committing just to commit, okay? There has to be a strong foundation and an effort, a conscious effort to commit but commit to something that you know is serving you on a foundational level and on a soul level. Okay, so these are things that were missing for me. I felt like, yes, I have a promise that I'm going to commit. Yes, I have a partnership with this person because we share bills in a household. And in the case of my husband, a child. And I loved all of the people I was in relationships with. I loved them very much. And I cared about them very much. And I didn't want to hurt them. But I did it anyway. Because when it came time to recognize that the relationship had hit its end point, I could not bring myself to tell them that. So I made bad decisions. But this isn't about me. This is about digging down deep, right? Digging down into the muck of what makes us tick. And figuring out what it is in our lives that we can improve, because everybody needs self-improvement. And if you didn't need self-improvement, you would not be on this journey, because that's what meeting your twin is all about. It's about self-improvement. That's what the mirror is all about. That's why they came into your life, to shake you awake and say, what are you doing? This isn't going to work anymore for you. This isn't who you are, but you have to figure out who you are. And once you figure out who you are, then you need to figure out how to fix the things about you that you don't really like. So for me, with this having to do very much with commitment issues, this had to be, where are my boundaries? Why don't I have any? Where are my foundations? What are they? What are my negotiables? What are my non-negotiables? That's a really important thing, guys, and a very useful exercise I highly, highly recommend to write down what are your negotiables and what are your non-negotiables. Because twin or not, this is going to help you move forward in healthy relationships. Because right away, you can present that to someone and say, look, not to get too serious or anything, but this is really a non-negotiable for me. So if we can't meet halfway on it, if we can't meet on the bridge of those things that I consider non-negotiables, then this relationship probably isn't going to have the foundational stability to work out. And you're going to save yourself a lot of trouble in the long run, right? So for me, the paradox has been in committing to my twin flame journey. I commit to my twin flame relationship. This isn't the same thing as saying I'm committing to my twin because I'm not going to date anybody or I'm not going to explore an interest in anybody else romantically. That to me is not the whole point of the commitment. I haven't really felt very inclined to date. I have a little bit, but it's like been very casual, kind of like dipping my toe in the water and like, no, not ready, not right for me. I'm not right for them, whatever it may be. It's just nothing has gone anywhere. And that's okay. I'm all right with that because I have a lot on my plate right now. And honestly, I'm not really interested in casual dating. And a lot of you probably aren't either. Because this journey does something to you where, online dating, casual dating, things like that start to seem really surface and hokey. I don't know about you, but it does to me. So, and I feel a really deepened desire to protect myself, right? And protect how much of myself I put out there romantically and how much of myself I put out there to be vulnerable, and a lot of it might be a little bit of a fear of rejection, but I mean, not really, because again, I have too much going on, and I feel like I've been through so much, no one's really going to hurt my feelings all that bad at this point. You know what I mean? But regardless of that, surrendering and a release is not giving up. Okay. What it is just saying, I know I don't have control of the situation. I'm going to let my twin do what they need to do to get their souls and themselves to a better place and work on their self-worth. And I'm going to do the same. So when we get back into this idea of self-worth and how we reevaluate wealth, I feel that the biggest part, the most important piece of the twin flame journey that goes along with this is in reevaluating what you do for money, reevaluating how you work, figuring out what your soul mission is. Because if you really are on this twin journey, this is about a soul mission. This isn't about an unhealthy obsessive relationship, because that almost comes second, right? So keeping this into perspective, we're committing to the twin flame journey. We're committing to the soul mission. We're committing to tempering ourselves. We're committing to cultivating our self-worth. We're committing to reevaluating our relationship to wealth, because wealth, health, and spirituality and love are directly connected. They're all connected. Your money and your love is connected, believe it or not. The way your relationship with money, the relationship with the effort, the blood, sweat, and tears, and the way you toil and put your work and your service out into the world in order to receive, the way we give and receive, this defines our relationships. And this is where other readers come from when they say move into a place of receiving. Because this time of year I'm not an astrologer, just so you know, astrologist, whatever. So please consult. Varush is really awesome. And then I know there's a whole number of other astrologers out there if you want to confront what's going on in the cosmos, because that's not really my thing. I pick up bits and pieces. I like to know what's going on overall. But I'm not an astrologer. But I will tell you, I do know we are in a really big shift here, in a very transformative shift, both the masculines and the feminines, everybody collectively, whether you choose to recognize it or not. That's what we're going through here come July, the second half of the 1 year of 2017, which is a new beginning year, literally a new year, because everything is shifting and we're coming into a powerful eclipse in August. And this is really going to bring up, I think, some more muck and maybe some of the last of whatever those dark tendrils of negativity and those old ways of being that have been moving out from 2016. I think these eclipses, anything that's left over, all the residual crud that has floated to the bottom, all of the sediment is going to be brought up and cleared out. And that's it. All right? I'm going to stand firm in the last half to quarter of this 1 year, really seeing those new beginnings take shape. And that's a big part of what this is all about. I really feel called to stir people up a little bit if I can, to tell you not to rest on your laurels, to tell you not to just give up or sit back and think that you have no control over anything. Because some of it you might not, but you can control how you react to the things that happen to you, right? You can control a pretty good amount of effort that you put in to how you make your money and how you live your life and how you build your home and how you navigate your relationships with other people and how you feel about this journey and how you feel about your relationship with your twin. You can call them and text them and badger them and stalk them, or you can leave them alone. You've got choices, right? So, and I'm not saying what works for one person is going to work for everyone. I'm just saying let's get back to the basics and let's really focus on the self. Because that's how we're going to come into receiving now, right? If you feel like you've given and given and given until your cup is just empty, your cup runneth empty, and you have nothing left to give, you're in rock bottom's basement, you've been stabbed with all 10 swords, you've got the weight of the world on your back, and your cup is dry. If that's the way you feel, which I firmly believe the vast majority of us do, good. Because that means you've been doing the work. And that means you're ready to sit back, get out of your own way, and let the universe and let the divine collective energy take over. Let it be what it's going to be. Regardless if you come into union with your twin or not. Work on your union with yourself. Reevaluate how you feel about your health, your wealth, and your spirituality. Try and get yourself to a place. When I say health, guys, I mean in all manners of speaking, okay? Physical health, mental health, emotional health, all of that needs to be united. I definitely need to start going back to the gym. I don't know about you. I feel very strongly about that. But you know what I'm saying? It's like, try to get all those things in harmony, even if it's a little bit a day, every other day. Any effort you make towards self-improvement is only going to raise your soul level and raise your spirit because it's going to make you feel so much better about yourself. And then you're going to be able to attract the best thing for you because you know it's out there waiting for you. You know there is a potential for it, whether it's with your twin or not. I cannot emphasize that enough. We all want to be with our twins. We all love them, right? We've all put so much commitment into this journey, into this relationship, whatever it may be. All right. And it's tough to feel like you're almost saying, okay, well, I'm walking away, but it's not really that. You're just going you're still forging your path. But remember, the wheel turns this way, right? It's a spiral. It's not just one straight path. You might feel like you're just moving forward, and that's good. That's what you need to do, one foot in front of the other. But your wheel of fortune is constantly going to be turning, right? It's going to dip and you're going to have lows, and then it's going to come back up again. That's the whole circle of things, right? But you have to just keep moving. And you have to just keep moving in a direction that's healthy for you. All right, so that's what's meant by surrendering. That's what's meant by releasing. So if there is any sort of hanging on that you're doing in a negative way, I just really deeply encourage you from the bottom of my heart with all my love to try to just release a little bit. Don't be so hard on yourself, right? Let's not talk about fear and rejection, okay? Because those things are going to exist in life in many, many different forms and realms, and it's going to happen. But rejection just makes you stronger as long as you keep getting back up, right? Failing makes you successful. if you reevaluate the steps you took and what you can do differently next time to get yourself to a better place, a more desired place of where you want to be, right? So now I went ahead and pulled one of each of my cards, cards that I felt compelled to use. I've got my, I'll show you. I've got my Tarot of the Old Path tarot deck that I've been using for all of my twin flame readings. I've got my Messenger Oracle. I've got my Vintage Wisdom. And I've got my, sorry, upside down. Sorry, my Sacred Rebels deck. Okay. And I actually I pulled one card of each, but then I felt sort of compelled to also look at the bottom of each pile to look at the overarching energy for each of the piles too. And those cards are all great and really apropos. So these are face down, so I don't know what they are yet. So I'm really excited to see what I pulled. And I really just asked for the best possible card for the collective energy when we're talking about surrendering and release on the twin flame journey. Okay, so first is the tarot card, and you're going to see it the same time I do because I'm just going to hold it right up to the camera. We got the Seven of Pentacles. Guys, I love that we got this. I would have rather it been the 9, but I love that we got this because this is a guy that has been working so hard, right? Blood, sweat, and tears. Like I said, how do you put your service out into the world? How do you define your relationship to health and wealth and spirituality? What do you do for work? How do you bring in money? What do you give in order to receive? This man is waiting for the fruits of his labor to come about. And he's going to get there because he's been toiling really hard. So maybe when we talk about being in the surrendering phase of our journey, this is exactly where we're at. What did I say? Phase 7? It's the 7 of Pentacles. So maybe this is where we're at. Maybe we really are in phase 7 when we're surrendering and releasing because he's done working. He's already planted all of his pentacles. He's done everything he can do. He's wiping the sweat off of his brow, and he's about to go have a nice cold beer, right? And he's going to sit back, and he's going to let the universe take over. And he's going to let the rain and the soil and the sun and all of those beautiful pentacles he's planted fruit on the tree that he can go and collect later. That is so perfect. Now I don't wish it's the 9. Now I think it's perfect. Okay. What does this say? I don't even know. You were born to create. Amazing. Amazing with this dragon. And sorry about the glare. There we go. With the egg and all the light bursting out of it. Isn't that awesome? You were born to create. This card is self-explanatory. And that's what I say when I mean I want to shake people awake, because I don't want you to keep going to your dead-end job every day thinking there's nothing better for you. And I don't want you to think that you can't start your own business and it'll never happen. And I don't want you to think that you just don't have the resources to do it. Think, be creative. You were born to create. You really were, you know? And creating is not the same thing as procreating, just so you know. But I've gotten this card many times. And like I said, I've told you guys sometimes these throw me curveballs, but this couldn't be more perfect. What can you do? How can you tap into your creativity? How can you tap into your creative center? Because that is only going to help you cultivate that self-worth we're talking about, right? That's only going to help you along on this journey when you tap into that beautiful creativity, because you're putting something that you are literally cultivating in the soul. Right? When we talk about temperance and the soul, something you're literally cultivating in the soul and you're bringing into the universe. You're like, here, this is the essence of who I am. And that could not be a more beautiful thing. Okay? Next we have choice. Wow, guys, these are so great. Remember how I was saying you have a choice in how you react to every situation, even though you might not be in control? I think this is obvious. Obviously, we're emphasizing that here. You have a choice in how you view this journey, how you view surrendering and releasing. right? See that dove up top there, signifying messages and peace. And this woman with this beautiful, I don't know what she's holding, but it's interesting because it kind of looks like an egg and it's glowing too. And it sort of is reminding me of this dragon holding this egg of light. She's got something here that's glowing too, that she's looking at, contemplating. So, yeah, I mean, I really feel like this has to do with the choices that we make and the way that we choose to allow ourselves to go along this journey and the way we choose to give of ourselves in this world. The way we choose to give in order to receive, right? Last one. Oh my God, this is my favorite card in this deck. Defend to the end the worthwhile. I get this card almost every stinking time I do anything related to my twin. Isn't that amazing? With the owl on her head, and she has been crying loud. Her mascara be running. She needs to get some waterproof, right? Actually, I hate waterproof. But yeah, I mean, she has been through it. This is pure grief. Somebody that has worked so hard for something. So hard. Defend to the end the worthwhile. Do not give up, guys. Okay? And again, walking away from your twin who's not making their own best choices, who's not harnessing their own creative soul power and temperancing themselves and giving of themselves in a way that is going to be fruitful and beneficial, you're defending your journey. You're defending your commitment to your self-worth, okay? And loving your twin no matter where they stand. And I think that's a really important message as well. You don't just love somebody that agrees to love you back. That, at least not unconditionally. That's love with conditions, right? Love with conditions is, I'll love you if. Unconditional love is, I love you no matter what. I'll love you even if you're being a jackass and drinking with your friends every night and pushing away any potential for solid, lasting relationships because you can't deal with your own emotional immaturity. I'm not projecting here, guys. I'm just saying, I bet you a lot of people that resonates with, okay? So I'm just saying there is a way to still love a person that's doing things that are really, really annoying you and upsetting you and pissing you off and making you feel like you're being taken advantage of. You can still love them. You don't have to agree with it. You don't have to enable it. On the contrary, don't. Make the decision not to, and to move forward on your own life path in a healthy manner, in a way that's going to bring you peace. You're not here to heal somebody else without their permission, involuntarily, right? So you have to let them do the work, but defend your love by all means. You can love them right where they're at and still move forward with your journey and still commit to your own self-worth, to harvesting your own self-worth, growing your own self-worth, making the best life you can possibly make for yourself. I really also like Dream a Beautiful Dream in this deck. Get Release the Dark Wound, Let Love Live a lot too. And I think that has a lot to do with our self-love. So on the bottom of the deck, I'm just going to show you what I pulled because I thought these were really great too, even though I want to stay focused on the main messages here that I pulled. But I also pulled Stay Strong. I pulled that one from the Messenger Oracle. And I pulled the Empress. Again, these are all on the bottom of the deck. The Empress was the bottom of the deck here. So this beautiful feminine. When I talk about giving and receiving, guys, this Empress card is all about the giving and receiving, right? This beautiful, earthy goddess woman here with her baby and her animals and her. There's a pomegranate down there, an ankh, all of her little messengers. She is harnessing pure feminine abundance and love. That is like the card of compassion, right? compassion for all of our fellow living beings. So I think that is really important to keep in mind as well. And then on the bottom of my vintage deck was patience. Can't rush it. That's talking about that surrendering, right? Divine timing. Things aren't always going to happen in the way that you want and on the timeline that you want. And I would venture to say it's probably not happening fast enough for any of you, but you have to be patient and you have to let it play out on its own. And last but not least, listening for truth. And this one's great because I feel like this is a card that's all about, in our everyday rhetoric, in our everyday conversations, and all of the things you hear, and all of the YouTube readers that you may be listening to, that card is all about finding the truth and like hidden in the messages we hear every day, or the truth that we see in the symbols around us every day, the signs around us every day, right? It's like picking out those little morsels of truth, or being able to read between the lines and read what's underneath the veil, what's really going on underneath the veil, right? Like she's listening to the seashell. I really believe that this is about giving you faith and hope that you know that there's certain truths that are underpinning what might be actually going on in front of you. Okay? So I hope this has been helpful. This has been a really fun way for me to sort of journal and do a reading. And I hope that it was clear, and I hope that it was helpful. And I hope you'll go check out your sign for July if you haven't already. And then also, yeah, I've got like 3 more left to do. I've got Aries, Taurus, and Gemini. That should be fun because I'm a Taurus and my twin's a Gemini, so I kind of saved those for last. But I actually just started with Cancer because that's the sign we were in. So I'm coming full circle, and I will be back to do more readings. Check out my my email in the description if you want a personal reading, and I also have my Instagram and Facebook links on there as well. So until next time, thanks so much for watching. Namaste.